Hello again. This is Delta Kilo for Second Wind. Into the Breach, Out of the Hinnom Valley, Episode 2. I want to thank everybody for the support and the viewership so far. I believe I'm passing 100 hits, which certainly doesn't sound like much to somebody who's successful online, but it's a great start for me, and I'm very grateful. I will be giving various acknowledgements along the way. Only one in this particular video, expressing gratitude for other organizations and their volunteer actions and activities, as well as addressing some of the comments and suggestions that I have received, as well as some constructive criticism. I want to reiterate and reinforce my purpose for being here. This is actually in response to something I heard from a close personal friend. What I will be talking about, the main points, the themes, and some of the supporting points. So I want to make sure that I am keeping right to the heart of the matter. 3 primary themes: politics and law, incarceration, and advocacy. Now, before I continue, something that I did that's kind of clever that I hope will be an improvement from the last video, but it'll still be a dead giveaway. I'm still operating with limited tech, recording into my phone using a tablet for all my notes, but I increased the font by many clicks, and then increase the size of the document as well so that I can take my reading glasses off. Worst case scenario, I got to put them on for a moment. It is what it is. At distance, I got 20/20 vision, but up close, it's a disaster. So, politics and law. The intersection of politics and law. The intersection. Red flag laws, risk protection orders, constitutional violations, gun confiscation. Taking your guns before they've proven that you're guilty of anything based on hearsay and supposition. Weaponized application and utilization of law enforcement on behalf of carrying out and enforcing political policy. All right, these are all big things. I'm not going to say more about almost anything that I say right now unless if it's part of the video, part of the notes that I already have. As I stated in the first video, my purpose for being here, the intentions, the themes, this is the first time I will expand on that more formally, and then ultimately down the road I'll be separating. So, moving right into it. And this is also under politics and law. Permanently marking American citizens so that the rights are forever restricted and forfeited. I have already located a series of videos that I saved from 2019 after the cops first came at me about red flag laws and RPOs, risk protection orders. I've reviewed a few. I will look over the rest. We'll do some searching and research, see which are appropriate to link as resources for reference. I'm learning now through the editor suite. I can put a bunch of stuff in at the end of the video, and I want to make sure I have this in a separate and supporting document. The video series will be The Injustice of Justice. Next, incarceration. The Broward County Main Jail, Broward County, Florida. Conditions: alarming, shocking, disturbing arrogance, brazen dismissal and lies, daily treatment and mistreatment, condescending sport mockery, contemptuous disregard, incompetence, dangerous safety violations, violence against inmates, substandard medical services and treatment, degrading, indignifying, dehumanizing, human rights violations, illogical, self-contradicting policy and management and mismanagement, and flat-out abuse and corruption. The video series about that will be called David and Goliath, the Broward County Main Jail. I'm going to post something, I'm going to read something that I posted a few weeks ago for perspective in the hopes that I can bridge a more personal connection to reach those of you who understand. I know the outrageous corruption and injustice of the justice system, the pain and suffering of incarceration, the infuriating, excruciating, overloading heartbreak of slow, methodical destruction. When I was inside, I had a million of my own ideas on how to get myself out and to save myself, but I could not get anything done on my own. The system of incarceration that I experienced was designed so that an inmate cannot help themselves in any manner. You're just supposed to hurt, to suffer, and to lose. Period. Guilty until proven innocent. Moving on. Advocacy. My concept. Helping those inside receive better legal support and options and connect and remain connected to the world. Specifically, critical legal support and representation for persons incarcerated in the Broward County Main Jail, faith-based support and counseling human contact through postcards, visitations, and phone calls, assistance in connection to friends and family, and then initial reception upon release from that facility. I would not be doing any formal counseling. That would be Pastor David Morgenstern or whomever he appointed as qualified to do so. The overarching theme for these 3 points, for all of this, for this entire channel and my endeavor, will be focused on spiritual principles and path and counseling. That will be addressed over time as needed. Regarding advocacy at the street level, I'm going to read you another section of something else that I posted within the last few weeks. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. Serving the homeless, the addicted, the convicted, the unwanted, the disenfranchised. It isn't easy, and it isn't perfect. Sometimes it's ridiculous, desperately trying to help those who both dodge and fight against help. But it is righteous. It provides guidance, structure, direction, and hope. And some options that many of these people just do not have or cannot access even when they do exist. My place in it is service. I've been going downtown to support since the week I got out in August of 2021. I don't get anything for it. There have been a few benefits. I have been fed when I wasn't expecting it. I received a brand new pair of hiking boots from Care in Action, Tony, Brother Tony, bless you, that I desperately needed and I would have had to pay for. People have said thank you. There have been some very sincere moments of prayer, communion, and connection. Double tapping and reinforcing. About legal. Making connections. Communication and visits with the public defender's office, emails, representation, private attorneys, low cost, no cost. I'm working on that. I might have details in the notes for this. The public defenders are appalling, if not despicable. At some point, some of them will see it and they'll go, oh, wait a minute, that's not fair. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is fair. I understand everything. To notes, okay? And I welcome any questions from any of you who end up viewing this who either will be like, hey, can you elaborate? Or, well, here's what I thought. Well, I don't understand. But the public defender's office, it's free. It's there to serve. How could it be that bad? Yeah, well, that's a good question. I can only tell you what I saw. To point, I'm told there are better ones, but that's not what I saw. That's not what I experienced at all. Most of the inmates that I saw that I served time with had no options, and that's not acceptable regarding whether they get a skilled, experienced private attorney or a public defender. Status and updates. I never heard from my public defender, and I called her again and again and again and again. Uzma Gomez, not okay. That's right, I just named you, calling you out. Welcome to adulthood in the professional sector. Not everything is going to be hidden, and I'm going to be unearthing a great many things, which I'm sure will gain me a lot of enemies. Spectacular, lucky me. Calls to the public defender's office actually are free and supposedly unmonitored, though I have heard some really ugly rumors and was advised by a few different attorneys to be extremely careful with that. I never heard from my appointed public defender attorney. I reached out to her again and again and again. I left message after message after message. I was finally mailed the case discovery, but the only 2 times I ever spoke with her directly were in court when we were getting ready to have a hearing right then and there. That's not acceptable. I understand that there's a heavy caseload. We'll address all this in bits and pieces moving forward. It's still not acceptable. It's just not okay. One thing at a time. Pardon me. Follow-up. The whole follow-up thing, now this is, I didn't get this either, but I've heard stories about it, and I've spoken to other lawyers about it. It's what happens after. Either what, coming up to trial, just short of trial, or even in completion of trial. What's next? What's happening, what to expect, what's needed, and then options and summaries, and what to do when you get out. For instance, what if you're on probation? What if you have fines? You're dealing with court costs, other assessments, and conditions. I had to do criminal registration, yet another just gloriously humiliating and indignifying event. Ever heard of that? Me neither, up until I had to go register for it. To the human, counseling, spiritual counseling, communication, postcards, phone calls, video visitations, commissary and care packages, family support, commo with them on behalf of incarcerated inmates, food stores for low-income families of incarcerated persons, clothing for low-income families and families with children under the age of 18. Again, of incarcerated persons. That's the connectivity here. And transportation support for low-income families of incarcerated persons. Release, critical. And I have my own experience in this that I can fill in. Initial greeting and reception from facility upon release, so that no one is ever allowed to feel as though they're coming out to nothing and no one, with no options, without hope, without support. Immediate transportation to a family, to friend, to a home of each or either, to an apartment, to some manner of proper domicile, or, as is common enough, to a transitional halfway or quarter-way facility, some other kind of facility, or emergency placement, such as the Salvation Army. I'm hoping to work up a volunteer home options, as in people who actually either have properties, a room, even a couch. I will look to make that the best thing that I possibly can. I have this idea that I'll need to probably locate property owners, people who actually have an apartment building with efficiencies or studios, and they hold these, keep these for dead bare minimum, low cost, and even on credit for people who are just getting out. Probably the people who live there will have something to say about that, but the whole idea is my direct involvement and those who I work for, and I hope who will work with me. It isn't just going to be the slop thing of throwing people as soon as they get out of a period of incarceration into what might be an otherwise nice location where everybody's got great jobs doing this, that, and the other thing. There will be a bridge in between the gaps. I got it. I'm clear in my head. Have faith, trust. I'm going to make it work. Also, a tough reality is that some people, when they're getting out, they just know that they're going to be homeless. That's, who knows? Maybe they lived in the northern part of the state and got sent down here and were put in prison. And then they got out of prison and they had nowhere to go and they end up in local jail. There's stories, I've heard it all before. Bottom line, they're unpreventably hopeless. The intention will be to get them outdoor survival equipment, proper camping equipment, all right? So they're not just in the dirt, sleeping on the side of a building. It's better to get them in some grass with a tent and some things to survive, all right? Camping is a way of life, and I don't say that, I'm not trying to be cute or clever, to minimize